Welcome everybody to another episode of Spicy Speculation, this time looking at the data files from smite-datamining.com on OpenBeta62. Now if you don't know what data mining is, basically some people look into the files in the current PTS or whenever a version goes live and tries to see what the devs are working on. Now pretty much every champion so far, we've got cards, we've got abilities and things coming through, and towards their later stages they're very accurate, so it has so far been very trustworthy. But all of these things in the data mining may change, may never come out, and maybe works in progress. And at the end of the day, it's just fun to have a look at what's maybe coming next. But this time round, we do have the cards for the new champion and their name. If you didn't know, hi-rez have switched to a champion in a month currently, rather than a champion every 3 weeks pretty much on average before. So we are actually due a champion in OpenBeta63 the next patch, and now it seems they're going to be called VIVIAN. This champion used to be codenamed Churchill. If you've watched my other data mines, they had some stuff to do with turrets and things like that, and actually it's kind of a 360 on the whole Churchill thing, and as I was thinking of Winston Churchill or Churchill the dog, which is like a British bulldog, so going towards Vivian, which is a female, it's kind of going the other way, unless it's like a female version of Winston Churchill with a top hat and very geriatric. I don't know, we'll have to see on that one. So this champion is actually very intriguing. I want to get on straight away into the talent cards. Now this is where things get a little bit shaky, because there's 6 talent cards listed. Talent cards are otherwise known as legendary cards, and as we all know, there's only 3, so it's kind of strange that there are 6 listed, so some may be mixed in here with the champion. However, we can link some of them up to some of the abilities that this champion has. For example, one really interesting thing is that from the cards we can see that they've got some sort of sensor drone, so some sort of deployable, whether it tracks out, goes towards enemies, locks on or something like that, or if it travels around on its own, we don't really know. The sensor drone gives me the idea of like a little hovering robot going around, following people around, but this sort of shows off and reveals enemies, and I'll come to the cards in a second. But what's really interesting in this legendary card is that if an enemy is within 20 units of a sensor drone, it explodes, dealing 500 damage. So not only is this following people around, revealing them, it is also kind of a traveling mine. I think that's a really cool concept, and even if it's not going to work out that well in game, I think that's something interesting coming to the game. So coming back, let's just go into the drone cards. The sensor drone, there's Crack the Whip. Activating sensor drone gives 10, 20, 30, 40% movement speed, kind of normal. Informants 1, 2, 3, or 4. Sensor drone gain 100, 200, 300, 400 health if you kill an enemy revealed by your sensor drone. Quite interesting, so I'm guessing that it's going to have quite a large reveal range, maybe a bit like Strix's Flare. That could be what's going on here. Joyless Eyes. So the sensor drone increases the vision range of sensor drone by 10, 20, 30, or 40%. And those lower numbers might indicate that, again, it's quite a big radius, because you wouldn't be getting... we're not going into the 80%, 40%. I mean, it's still big, but not as big. So I'm guessing the range is rather big. And Nowhere to Hide. Sensor drone reveals lasts an additional 1, 2, 3, or 4 seconds after an enemy leaves its vision range. So we can guess that the sensor drone only reveals people whilst they're in it, but this is like an additional to reveal them all of the time. This is a really interesting champion, as it's just going to be interesting in the way that they support your allies in basically revealing all of the enemies, and I think that's their sort of role this time round. The other big legendary card is called Suspect Everyone, and this sensor drone card, you and your deployables take 20% less damage from enemies revealed by your sensor drone. That's an interesting way of having some damage reduction in there, so basically your sensor drone will be making you have damage reduction. I wonder whether this one might be called. Maybe it'll be turned into a normal card, as not all of the cards are fleshed out yet. But that could be an interesting legendary card. Some of the ones that I'm not too sure about, so the Sapper rounds deal 100% increased damage to shields. Okay. Opportunity and Chaos deal 20% increased damage if you stayed firing for 2 seconds. This one might be, because it sounds like the weapon is sort of an automatic rifle or something like that, but maybe projectiles, something more along the lines of Inara, except not semi-automatic, firing those little stones off. One really interesting card here, and I don't know whether this one's been mixed in by accident. There's Wrath of the Stigala, so hitting all 3 shots on the same target deals an extra 200 damage, which almost sounds like an Inara card, that there'd be an extra 3 shots. I don't know whether this is a rework to one of Inara's cards, or whether it is actually for this champion. Is there a burst of 3 shots again, like Inara? On the other hand, this champion could be the same race as Inara and Terminus. That's some spicy speculation there, if she is also a Stigala. Although I don't know about this, 3 shots hitting a target deals an extra 200 damage. So if it's low, like 200 damage, then probably it's going to be like a burst sort of thing. Although there's also another card called Ace in the Hole, which refers to something called Sentinels, which I'm not entirely sure referring to, as there isn't any cards for the Sentinels, whether or not some sort of golem or something that you can spawn. It did seem that there was some kind of turret for this champion before, and maybe not just one turret. There was like a listed in the abilities as a ward and a turret, so maybe there's like a moving turret, unlike barracks turrets, and more like a stone golem. I mean, if they're a Stigala, could it be little stone guys, little stone golems? That's speculation right there. Anyway, let's get into the other cards. So there's an ability called Precision Sight. So this sort of suggests that they're like Victor perhaps, or maybe even a sniper, but I think more like Victor, where you bring up your sights, as one of the cards is a lot like Victor's card. Lightweight alloy brings up your precision sights 15, 30, 45 or 60%. And it might even play out a bit like Victor, but a tank. I mean, everything else in here sort of suggests a tank, and I'll come back to that later. So hidden reserves, every shot in precision sights has a 10, 20, 30, 40% chance to not cost ammo, which is interesting again, which does sort of suggest that the ammo size, the magazine, might be smaller if you're trying to preserve ammo and not have a chance to cost ammo. An interesting way of doing it here, instead of increasing the ammo pool size, it's just kind of a chance whilst you're in your precision sights. Little eye in the prize, reduce recoil 20, 40, 60 or 80% whilst using precision sights. Again, a bit like Victor's, and suggests that it's either burst or automatic. And controlling nature of precision sights, shots in precision sight reduce the cooldown of sensor drone by 0.04, 0.08, 0.012 or 0.16 seconds for each of the shots. So maybe it's not even going to be a small pool of the ammo. Maybe it's more going to be more along the lines of Ruckus. I mean, there's kind of conflicting things here, because one thing, like the Opportunity and Chaos legendary card, whether or not that's coming, as there's 6 legendary cards, says if you get 20% increased damage if you stay firing for 2 seconds, so could it be a bit like Ruckus, you wind it up, as these values are all very low. Again, coming back to the shield card, so there's something called Vanguard Shield. One thing that's interesting is that there's plans within plans, so heal for 20, 40, 60 or 80 health per second whilst Vanguard Shield is active. Now those are quite low values, so I'm guessing that this shield can stay up for a long time. Whether or not it's part of your person or if you can put it down, I'm not entirely sure, but that's plans with plans. Contingency, Vanguard Shield, you can increase the health of the shield by 200, 400, 600, 800. Again, it's probably going to be some kind of big shield. Is it going to be like Fernando's shield? You hold it up in the air. I mean, if you're going to be holding it for a long time, you're getting a lot of health back. Then the Scapegoat. Well, Vanguard Shield is active. 15, 30, 45 or 60% of damage dealt to you is instead dealt to the shield. Again, suggesting the shield is big. And also, it might only be at the front, or maybe it's a smaller shield than the shields we've seen so far, so it's easy to flank around or shoot you in the side. Maybe that's why it's mitigated here. And finally, Unfair Advantage 1, 2, 3, 4, you get increased shield of lifetime by 1, 2, 3 or 4 seconds. Just going on to the generic cards that I mentioned, there's Runic Ammunition, heal for 15, 30, 45 or 60% of damage dealt to shields. This time around, I mean, Runic Ammunition, it's a bit like Talus, Torvald. We've got 2 runic characters. Is there some connection there? Are they using similar weapons? And there's also Unchecked Ambition. Hitting a shot has a 15, 30, 45 or 60% chance not to cost ammo. Again, coming into that ammo thingy-majiggy. And then on the armor, Numbed Heart gives 50, 100, 150, 200 health. That's kind of basic. And then one step ahead, 5, 10, 15, 20% movement speed base. That's kind of interesting, as tanks often don't get this sort of base movement speed to just dodge around all the place. So that one's kind of interesting, but maybe it's because there doesn't really seem to be much of an escapability here. There doesn't really seem to be anything in there. I mean, the sensor drone seems like it's something that you put out, and then you can get movement speed for it, but it doesn't seem like something that pushes you. All in all, it does seem that it is a tank champion because of the shields and because of everything else. But the only thing that puts me off is the fact that the gaining health is only up to 200 health. It's not huge, and usually it's a higher percentage for the tanks. It could be that this is just a hybrid between a frontliner and a damage dealer, like a bit like Ruckus, so we could see something like that. But it's very interesting that they've got these sensor drones going around. Also going into the right click with aiming, but I'm kind of interested what the sentinels are and if there is anything else in there, because in the sort of data files listed there was an ability to slow and pulse, whether or not these golems go up to people and slow them down. Maybe you can't kill them, maybe they just chase after you. We'll just have to see on that one. What's everybody else's speculations about this champion going forward? That's Vivian. The new champion used to be called Churchill. So I know a lot of people have been waiting for the new game mode, and everybody's been like looking forward to Siege 2.0, the old Siege mode coming back in a new way. Now, this isn't exactly confirming that, but there is a new Conquest game mode coming to the game. And I think Conquest does sound like something that the old Siege mode would present. If they're trying to separate from the new Siege mode, which has sort of been known as Siege, Conquest sounds like it spans across a whole big map. It sounds like it's on the more epic scale than Siege. So I could see this Conquest being something along the lines of the old Siege mode. I don't know whether it'll be with towers and like MOBA games trying to push through, or whether there'll be any PvE elements or anything like that. We'll just have to see. There are some maps listed, but there's some things going on here. So there's Crenshaw, which doesn't have any tags, Bash, which seems to be some sort of siege map they're working on, but there's actually another game mode maybe being worked on, because there's Mirth and an Asiatic map. Mirth is listed as TDM, which stands for Team Deathmatch. Are they going to try something out? Are they going to twist things around? Are they going to try something out instead of Onslaught for a little while? That could be something that they're going to try out. And there's also the Asiatic map. Maybe they're just working on something along the lines of the Ronin skin set and just some sort of like Japanese, Far East sort of theme. Actually, they might go for more of a Chinese theme because there's quite a big player base there with Tencent games and everything like that. But I'm really interested to hear more about the Ravenous Conquest. And honestly, there's been a lot of drag for players in other games at the moment. There's Warframe, there's Destiny 2 coming out. I think people are being pulled at the heartstrings, and I guess that hi-rez have been working on something big for a while, and maybe this Ravenous Conquest is just that and might be a big draw for people to come back and try it out, as it would be something so different. Maybe just like a complete rework of the old Siege mode. We'll just have to see how it's progressed from closed beta. If that is the old Siege mode, it might be something completely new, something completely unrelated. What's all of your spiciest speculation? Be sure to let me know. Another big thing that I talked about yesterday on Twitter, I atted Thomas Holt saying, oh, when are we going to get a community skin in the game? And see something like that. And he didn't respond to that, but he actually responded to another tweet of mine where I didn't at him, like a few minutes later. So either he just can't talk about it, maybe they're working on something, maybe there's just like a load of backlines, but there's also the new skin that's listed in this cosmetic data mine is the Ceres Angelic skin. Now, the Angelic Ceres, a skin concept by I'm Qatar, and it looks awesome. One of the earlier skins he's done. I think some of his new skins are maybe better. I just think that he's getting better as he goes along, but this skin concept was awesome. I think all of his skin concepts as well are fitting to the game. I actually tweeted Thomas Holt because I was like, yeah, this could happen, because the chibi art that went in last time was from a community member. I was like, this could happen, getting a skin in the game, and this one's kind of realistic. So you see on the screen, this is his concept, so I'm just hoping, fingers crossed, that's going in. I might be told I'm wrong, but we'll just have to see. But that's some more spicy speculation there, folks. And that's pretty much all this time round in the data files. So what's all of your speculation? What's going forward? What do you think about Vivian? What do you think about the new game mode? And what do you think about the skin? I think the other skins I've already mentioned. There's like a cap mount, things like that. SWAT, Fernando. There's going to be a load of ice skins coming forwards, probably for Christmas, but that's pretty much everything. And if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe for more of my content, and I'll see you all next time. Joshino.